Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Personal Beauty. My name is Shannon. I'm going to be your host. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different and a little bit more exciting, I think. We're going to be discussing what's in my bag. So this is my purse here, you guys. This is a relatively new one. It's kind of big, but I'm a sucker for a big bag. What can I say? So for today's episode, the reason that we wanted to talk about kind of what's in my bag, things that are easy to carry, and these are some common items that you might find in a typical person who lives in Korea's purse or bag. So for today's episode, I'm going to be introducing some products that I personally love, but I also wanted to open a discussion with you guys. What are some essentials that you guys carry? What are some things that you guys love as well? Hello, everyone. Oh, hi, Dad. My dad's in the chat. Hi, Dad. You guys are seeing some familiar faces. I'm seeing Nathan. Hello, Nathan. So as you guys can tell, it's a little bit gloomy outside. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but it's actually pouring rain. So one thing that just to kind of introduce the topic for today, one thing that I would typically carry in Korea that I otherwise didn't really carry often is actually a little compact umbrella. And the reason for this actually isn't because of the rain, but this is more so to protect your skin. This might sound a little bit odd. This is something that when I first moved to Korea, I found a little bit taboo as well. But Koreans are very, very adamant about their personal skincare. It's both about maintaining that sort of bright, more pale appearance, but it's also a little bit more about just kind of the overall health of your skin and trying to avoid sun damage and things like that. So even on the sunniest of summer days when you're in Korea, you'll often see people walking around with umbrellas. I do have one with me today. I unfortunately did not bring the compact one that would fit in here normally. It's about this big though regularly, and these are something that you guys can get for maybe 4,001, which in USD is like $3 at the convenience store, otherwise known as 편의점 in Korean. So some other like typical things that I would carry would be something that we call 물티슈. This in Korean is actually for wet tissue, but this is those little kind of baby wipe similar, but it's to keep your hands clean, and it's actually really, really efficient, and it's really convenient to have on you. Those are just two examples of things that I'd never carried in my bag before I came to Korea, but since living in Korea, it has become a staple for me. Let's see what else we got. Guess what beauty item Shannon carries? Drop your thoughts. I'd love to see what you guys think I have in my bag before I actually introduce them to you. This should be a pretty interesting episode. It's like a small universe inside a bag. It feels like a treasure hunt when you open it. I always put hand cream. It's so uncomfortable when my hands are dry. Great thoughts, you guys. So hand cream is also something that I didn't really carry often. I'd heard about it, and it's kind of one of those things you would see walking through a beauty shop or like Ulta, Sephora, at the end of like an end cap just for like an extra dollar to spend. But since I've been living in Korea, it's really common for people to buy hand creams, and sometimes they're often a sign of luxury. For example, if you guys go to a really popular place here called Tambourines, it's more of known as like a hand cream, kind of luxury lotion perfume store. So if you have somebody or a friend in Korea that whips out that Tambourines hand cream, just know it's a symbol of status there. Camera or pouch. I actually don't carry an additional camera with me. Something that I typically carry though is my phone. I recently got the new iPhone 16, which is probably better than most little cameras that I could carry anyway. So very, very thankful for that. I agree. I always put snacks in my bag. I always have snacks. So I actually cleared out my bag for today's episode. This is actually a new bag that I got probably last week, I would say. Typically, though, some snacks that you might find in my bag would be like gummies, or because I'm a sucker for jelly or gummies that they call it here in Korea. Or I also carry like little fruit snacks, something like the little roll-up dried fruits and things like that. Or chocolate. Hershey Kisses tends to be my favorite. A very small baby elephant, hairbrush, and Echo X candy bar. No doubt, I don't carry a small elephant, but I'm sure I would if I could fit one in my bag. A real girl's bag has the world in it. There's nothing that I don't have. That is so true. So now that my dad is in the chat, you guys can, I'm sure, talk to him a little bit. But he actually has this kind of thing about women's bags that you never go inside it. It is just its own little universe, and it's private, and it's just kind of like a Mary Poppins situation. So without further ado, I think I've kind of held you guys off long enough. I'm going to start by introducing some of the things in my bag that you would typically find in Korea. So let's go ahead and get started. This is a pretty large bag, as you guys can see. I don't like carrying the small purses because I don't find them very utilitarian. I can't really use them. It's similar to like women's pockets and jeans. You just can't fit a lot. So I almost always have some sort of tote or some sort of large bag. So let's just go ahead and start with some of the Korean things that I carry. So When I pull this guy out, I don't know if you guys are even going to recognize this. This is actually a portable hairbrush. So I use this piece to keep it clean. But this is just one of those things. I have very fine frizzy hair. So it's something that I often carry with me just to kind of touch up, especially before shoots like this, or especially on days like today when it is pouring rain outside and it's very humid. I tend to get quite frizzy. So this particular one is called Rifa. This is a popular brand as far as hair care in Korea, specifically found at places like Olive Young. This one specifically is for detangling and defrizzing. This actually has an ion mechanism that will help to kind of take some of that static out of your hair. So this is something that I always carry in my bag. It is super light. It's really easy to just kind of fit anywhere. So this is one of my definitely go-tos. I love keeping that one in there. Something else, let's just kind of see what comes out here, is my all-important cushion foundation. So this is one that I really started getting into when I moved to Korea. So otherwise, when I was in the States, at least previously, most of my foundation was something that I left at home. It was like glass liquid bottles or was like a little pump type bottle. I would never carry those around at risk of it getting like leaking all over my bag or just getting destroyed. And also it's just too much. But this is the Hera Cushion Foundation in shade 21N1 Vanilla, which is the lightest shade possible. As you guys can see, I'm quite fair. But a cushion foundation typically looks like this. It comes with like a little puff. And this one in particular is actually for kind of smoothing and just kind of blurring out any sort of fine lines and wrinkles. One thing that's really popular concept-wise in Korea is the term 빨리빨리. This represents like a fast-moving culture. Everything is just go, 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 or 빨리빨리 in Korean, which is actually where these kind of came into popularity. This is something that you can shove into your bag easily, and I keep this on me for many reasons. The fast-paced culture in Korea often escapes me, so I'll often be running late. But I always have this in my bag so that I can do my makeup in the taxi, which is not a joke. I do this all the time. But this one I like because it's not like a full coverage. It's not like a very mattifying sort of cake base. This one's actually going to be a very thin, light layer that you can build upon, and it's going to be more of a glowy foundation. I really, really like this Hera brand. This is not sponsored, by the way. I just have always bought Hera because this one in particular actually has SPF in it. It's SPF 34 with a PA plus of 2. The PA plus represents how long the sunscreen inside the product will last, which in this case would be about an hour and a half. So this is one of my go-tos always. It's a very moisturizing, hydrating cushion foundation. So I don't feel dry, I don't feel flaky, and it definitely fits wherever I need it to go. So that's one of my favorites right there. Another one, actually, there's one in particular I want to find for you guys. I know I brought it in here somewhere. I'm a little bit overstuffed in my bag at the moment. Give me just a second. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is my next go-to. I keep this one on me all the time. This is actually a more recent discovery. This is the Jungsemul Skin Setting Tone Correcting Base. So this one, actually, I wanted to show you guys a little bit more. You guys might know, I work at a skincare clinic part-time as well. This is one of my favorite products to recommend. It's actually not a brand that I've heard of otherwise, but specifically, this is actually a primer. So a primer is something that you put on before you put on your foundation or your makeup. And you might notice this one is actually green. So I put this one on because as a very fair person, I tend to have a more red, pinky base to my complexion. And often if I'm running late or something like that, I just want to tone down the redness. It's not even about wearing makeup. So for example, this one actually blends out really, really nicely. You can see there's no sort of green there anymore. But what this does do is actually neutralizes the redness in your skin, and it feels more like a moisturizer. This is one of my favorite products, and I could probably do an entire separate episode about this. It's a little bit more expensive. It's like 20,000 won, 30,000 won, which in USD is like $15 to $20. But this one is going to remove the redness from your skin. It blurs your pores. It acts as like a sort of tacky base for foundation. And it's a sunscreen. So this is one of my favorite products. It's just kind of like an all-in-one. This one, if you guys check out on the back, there's actually descriptions in English as well. This one says, after skincare routine, apply a thin layer for problem areas. Specifically, if I don't have a lot of time, I will bring this around the corners of my nose and out on my cheeks where I tend to be a bit pink. You might notice as well, this one says tone correcting or tone up. Tone up in Korean actually does mean brightening. So over a long period of time, this will end up kind of brightening your skin and helping to fade pigmentation. But like I said, I could genuinely make an entire episode just about this one product. It's one of my favorites all time. Love, love, love. And the PA plus in this one's about 3 and it's SPF 50. So have to have it, have to have it. Let me take a break and kind of see what we need. Shannon wore contacts but recently had surgery and no longer needs them. I kind of missed the part where this became part of the conversation, but yes, I did have LASIK recently. It was one of the better experiences that I've had with any medical experience that I've had. It was about 5 minutes. I was a little bit nervous during the procedure, but now I can see clearly and read all of your comments. A supplementary battery is a must. So oddly enough, we were actually going to include a portable battery inside my bag today, but I didn't bring it. Usually I try to charge up my phone before I leave the house, but these portable batteries you can get from anywhere. GS25 or 7-Eleven, any sort of pyeonijam for like 4,000 won. Or like 3 USD, just to recharge your iPhone or your Android or any sort of AirPods or things like that. So definitely an essential. I don't have it with me today, but that is something that you guys will often see here. There are a lot of people who put in tumblers, but I use a water bottle instead. So oddly that you mentioned that, I actually have one right here. So this one is a little bit larger. Of course, there is some branding on this one. This is a Starbucks one. With this one is a little bit larger than I would typically carry. Sometimes I just keep like a little tiny hydro flask on me. But when it comes to tumblers or water bottles, I often look for one that has sort of a filter in the top. This is because I like to do lemon water or infused waters. So for this one, you can actually open it up. There's a 2-part component here, so it's actually empty right now. But for this one, it's meant to be used for teas, coffees, and or water. So you have to stay hydrated. This is kind of a funny segue, but when it comes to Korean culture and just life, one thing that they don't have everywhere is water. And that sounds a little odd, but if you go to a restaurant here, you'll often get a little tiny cup of water. It's about this big. It's not like restaurants back home for me where they'll give you like a really big one. So it's really important to stay hydrated, and Koreans always walk around with a water bottle. So definitely important. You guys are going to need that. All right, let's keep it moving here. I'm going to show you guys a little bit more about some of the products that I carry in my bag. I have one right here. So if I don't do any other makeup, one thing I always do is my eyebrows. So I don't know if you guys can see this here. This is actually a spoolie, and the other side is a little angled brush. And I've got my little tiny blonde hair eyeshadow palette here. So if there's 2 things that I don't leave the house without, it is absolutely my jungsemul and my eyebrows. If I don't do any other makeup, I will always do my brows just because I'm very blonde naturally, so you can't really see them. This is actually a combination that I picked up in Olive Young. I believe in total it was about 7,000 won for all of it, but this has lasted me a good 6 months. It's just for touching up. Basically, you'll just wipe your brows like this, and then you'll switch to the angled brush side, dip it in the product, and then just swipe it on. This is one of my favorites, definitely a go-to for me as well. I think eyebrows are kind of like the middle of the face that just kind of stands out at you. So this is a really important one for me as well. So we've got a combination of some hair, we've got our hydrating flask, and then we've got some makeup products here. I've got one other thing that I will never leave the house without, and that is my AirPods. So AirPods are a must-have for me. I don't know about you guys, but at least in Korea, I'm often traveling, whether that's through the bus, the subway, taxi, or walking. Seoul is a very walkable city, so this is something that I carry with me always. Coincidentally, I've actually lost like 3 or 4 of these, and I've had to rebuy it a couple times, but it's worth the price for me just because I can't go anywhere without music. So I really like this one. All right, let me check back in with you guys. The tumbler is so big. Yeah, this tumbler is actually really huge. Here's my hand for a comparison. It's quite big. But for this one, it actually fits right in my bag, so it's not too much of a problem. My dad is suggesting that I bring an air horn or pepper spray. Unfortunately, I can't do that in Korea, but I also don't really need to. It's pretty safe here. I've never really felt the need for anything like that. Eye drops, yes. So eye drops is also something that you'll see really often in Korea. I see this for people without contacts or glasses, but just because of the air quality and because it does get quite dry here in the wintertime, a lot of times people will carry these little eye drop sticks. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's not like a big tube of eye drops. It's like these little one-time use sticks. You'll often see people just break it open, put them in, and then toss it out. But eye drops are very popular here as well. I use cotton swabs and cotton pads quite often. That's a great thing to say. I actually have some little tissues right here. So this is just your typical like Kleenex. This is actually the dry tissues. I use these a lot for makeup or to dry my hands after I've washed my hands. Something interesting about Korea as well is that when you go to the restroom, a lot of times you won't see paper towels. You'll see just like the little air dryer things, or you just air dry. Like there is no sort of way to do that, especially in public areas like throughout the subway and things like that. They're trying to kind of cut down on waste, for example. So I do carry these with me quite often. I tend to pack a lot of hair ties. I always have one on my wrist. So this isn't something that I necessarily pack, but I always have one with me just in case, especially as summer comes around. So let's keep on moving. I've got a couple other things I wanted to show you. And I'm going to bring out some of my more personal items in just a second so you guys can actually get a better look. Something else that I bring quite often is actually a little handheld mirror. I actually got this at a beauty expo in Seongsu. This was given to me as kind of a gift, but it's just a two-sided mirror. It's got a magnified side and a regular side. Really good to just touch and check up, especially before I'm filming or before I'm doing anything on set. So definitely really important there. This one, it's kind of a personal one, but this is actually my deodorant. This is something that is really not common in Korea, actually. But the reason I carry this is because I've just always used deodorant. Specifically, I've used this brand and this particular scent. But in Korea, it's really not common to see people packing deodorant just because, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Koreans really don't have BO. Even if they're working out and going to the gym, it's not something that they really have to struggle with. So you can find it. A lot of times it has like a whitening agent or some sort of antiperspirant. This is just to make sure that I stay fresh, especially throughout the day when it gets really humid here in the summer. If you guys are planning a trip to Korea, I recommend maybe fall or spring. Try to avoid summer. It's really hot and really, really humid. Photos of your family back home. I do have a ton of family photos on my phone, and I do have them all around my house, but that is not something that I carry with me in my bag. Raise your hand if you're carrying mint chocolate. Oh, mint chocolate. Okay, I'm on the other side of this argument where I don't really like mint chocolate, but that isn't something that I carry. I do actually carry regular chocolate sometimes. So I'm going to keep moving. So I did actually bring some more tissue here. As you guys can see, this is kind of like a Mary Poppins situation. I have full size everything. Usually I would just carry a single packet of these, which is like really small. It's maybe about the size of the corner here. But this is just a representation. This is something that Koreans will always carry. So we do have that one as well. I forgot to put this on the table. Let's put that there. Something else that I carry is one of these little clips. So this is actually just a standard hair clip, but this is something that I would use if I don't want to use a hair tie, for example. So hair ties, in my experience, can break your hair, damage your hair. Sometimes they pull your hair too tight. If you do just want to use something a little bit looser and takes about 2 seconds to use, this is what I would always go for. So I always carry one of these as well. I've got a couple surprising things in here I wanted to show you guys. So one of those things is actually my journal. I do carry a journal with me every day. I don't use it or write in it every single day, but I like to have it on me just in case I feel like I need to. This is a really good way for me if I'm especially having like a stressful day, or if I feel like I just have a lot of like overflow in my head, or if I'm overthinking. I like to put it all out here. I do carry a pen with me as well, just in case, because I don't like asking for pens. But this is something that I journal in. This is actually kind of a new one you guys can see here. I haven't filled it out all the way, but I've done quite a lot of writing in recent days. So this is just something that I personally keep. This is not, I don't really know if Koreans carry a journal with them often or not. But this is about my 5th or 6th one since I've been in Korea. And this was actually something that I got from a photo shoot and a runway as well, called Transitions. If you guys are curious about them, you can check it out on my Instagram. But that is definitely one of my favorite products to carry with me, no matter if I don't have anything else. I like to have it just in case, kind of like a personal therapy session throughout the day. It's become a habit to bring extra masks. That's a great point as well. So in Korea and in other East Asian countries, it is pretty common to just see people wearing masks. I've seen it being used for protection against the sun. Of course, protection against being ill or illnesses, but also just for people that are having like a rough day and just don't want to be seen or talked to by other people. So it is quite common to carry masks. I don't do that with me at the moment, but that is something that I have seen before. These days, it's more like checking with a cell phone camera than with a hand mirror. Yeah, that's true. I am guilty of that. I do often check with my phone as well. Sunglasses. I don't carry sunglasses with me on days like today when it's raining, but I have carried them more frequently since I got the LASIK, especially because my doctor did tell me that after about a month, you're going to need to be more protective of the sun. And with Korean summer coming on, I will be carrying sunglasses a little bit more often. I have a friend who carries pet snacks with her. Okay, so with pet snacks, one of my best friends, you might know Vaughn Soares. He's literally the best person ever. He has a dog. I might carry pet snacks if I'm going to go see them, but otherwise not really. Let's see. I always carry a mini comb. Yeah, so same thing with me. I carry this. If I actually forget this, sometimes I do use my hair clip as a brush. A little bit of some ingenuity there. Last thing that I have for you guys is actually a book. So this one is The Art of Thinking Clearly. This one is a collection of short stories by Rolf Dobelli. But this is one of my favorites. This is just kind of giving me perspective because I do work in customer service and I do work with a lot of different people. It gives me perspective on kind of how people process things, how they think about the world, and how certain interactions that you have with other people can kind of influence the way that they treat you and things like that. So definitely nice to just have, especially if I have a long train ride, a long taxi ride, or if I have nothing to do and it's a rainy day like today and I just go post up in a cafe. So that concludes kind of what's in my bag, which is actually quite a lot. Other than that, I just have my wallet, which I don't feel like I need to show you guys. But that is my bag. This bag, by the way, in case you guys were curious, is Iyugamakara. I don't know what that means, but it's pretty cute, so I really like it. Overall, that would conclude kind of what I typically carry in a day. Of course, there's variations to this. If it's like I'm going somewhere really nice, I'll kind of limit what I've got and take a smaller bag with me. But I love that book. Vaughn, hi to him if he's watching. I don't think he's watching. I do know that Vaughn is actually working today, so he's not going to be joining our broadcast. Book lovers, what are you reading right now? Oh, I love this question. If you guys are book lovers, feel free to drop some suggestions in the comment section down below. I'm always looking for a new book. This particular one is kind of more along the lines of like self-help or self-guidance. But my typical genre would be either thriller, mystery, or fantasy, oddly enough. So not quite as cerebrally stimulating, but definitely one of my favorites. I heard that Marnie puts diapers too. Let's see. You're good at hosting. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So just to kind of recap a little bit, this is a What's in My Bag episode. If there's anything that you guys have that's in your bag that's really interesting, I'd love to hear about it. Or if you guys have any questions for me about the products or just kind of about my life in Korea in general, or maybe some other unique things that we would find in Korea, then feel free to just let me know. It's almost like a bag. It's a bag that goes in a lot. Yes. So my bag does carry a lot. Like I said, I'm not really a fan of like those little mini purses. I just feel like they're not worth it. Like you're just carrying the purse. You're not carrying anything else. That's also why I prefer to wear like big baggy jeans or pockets like that are really big in like a jacket or something, things like that. Thank you for joining today. Which item was your favorite? Yes, drop down your favorite item below. Like I said, I think probably my favorite are going to be these two. I'm always a sucker for listening to music, and I got to have my sunscreen and tone-up cream. All right, so it seems like that's kind of the end of today. I think we're going to wrap up this episode for now. If you guys have any questions about today's episode or the previous ones where we went through the Oldamu series, feel free to drop a suggestion down in the comment section below. We do read it, and we do value your guys' opinions and advice. Thank you guys so much for supporting Koreanet, supporting me, and supporting the show. And until next week, we are going to see you next time. Feel free to tune in. It's at 6 p.m. on every single Friday. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!